What is up, guys? It's me, Deshaun, and today we will be ranking all 12 Guardian Lords from the time I got reincarnated as a slime. Not me, that's the show name. Now, I'm not gonna lie, ranking these characters is gonna be kinda hard because all of them are broken. But despite that, I was able to analyze their abilities and come up with this list. Go ahead and take a moment to like and subscribe, and with that, let's dive in to the first and weakest out of the 12 Guardian Lords, aka Rimuru Shield. He is the tank of the 12 Guardians. And he has an EP of 2,378,749. Now, unfortunately, Geld might be the weakest of the 12 Guardians, because his special ability, Corrosion, is nullified by almost every single Guardian. Geld can't even use his most broken ability, which has the potential to eat away and rot your physical body and spiritual, but most characters have a tolerance for it. Or in this case, they cancel it out altogether. Geld might have ultra speed regeneration, but spiritual attacks can still kill him. He has pain nullification, so he can't feel pain, but for the most part, he can still take physical damage, spiritual damage, and damage from natural effects, as well as holy and demonic. He's resistant to most things, but he cannot nullify them, so he'd be pretty easy to take out in comparison to other characters on the list, making him the weakest of the 12 Guardians. Even though Rimuru said himself that Geld could easily overwhelm Soe or Gabil. But I'd like to point out that is mainly due to strength, nothing more and nothing less. And that is why I decided to put Gabiru above Geld. So Gabiru's abilities consist of Alter Destiny, which is basically changing the fate or overall outcome of a battle. The only downside is he can only use this once a day. But this ability is so strong he could defeat an opponent that completely outclasses him. And with this, he'd have the chance to potentially defeat a member of the upper echelon of the 12 Guardians. But unfortunately, it wouldn't be consistent enough to actually put him higher on the list. And outside of Alter Destiny, he has Unexpected Manipulation. And to cut it short, this would simply be plot armor. It boosts the user's power in battle through unexpected situations. Depending on Gabiru's mood, he could get stronger. Now, similar to Gabil, the only thing that's really holding Gabiru back is the fact that he doesn't really have any nullifications. Now, just like Geld, the reason why they'd be so weak on this list because of their tolerances. They don't really have nullifications like the other Guardians, they have resistances, meaning they could still take physical damage, spiritual damage, etc. And it seems as if Geld's skill and experience is why he would be in a debatable position against other members. And as for Gabiru, his broken abilities would make up for the lack of nullifications, making them the bottom two. Gabiru's resistances would be abnormal condition resistance, holy/demonic attack resistances, natural effect nullification, pain nullification, physical attack resistance, and spiritual attack resistance. Gabiru is very broken, but he's not consistent enough to be higher on the list. Now, above Gabiru, I have Kumara with an EP of 1,899,944. Unlike both Geld and Gabiru, she is a lot more proficient when it comes to her defenses. Rather than resistances, she has full-on nullifications, such as melee attack nullification, ailment nullification, and for her other resistances, she would have resist natural elements, spiritual attacks, and chaos attacks. When it comes to her ability, she'd have Demon Lord Haki, Gravity Domination, Spatial Domination, Thought Acceleration, and Universal Sense. Now, with her ultimate ability being named Bahamut, Lord of Mythical Beasts, Bahamut is known as a monster that lies deep below and holds the support structure of the earth up. And likewise with Kumara's ability, Gravity Domination, this is exactly what she would utilize. With her gravity manipulation, obviously she can manipulate gravity, but she can also cause earthquakes. And she can interact with the planets themselves, causing mass destruction. And her abilities simply do not stop there. For each tail she has resides a magical beast that she can use in her arsenal. First of which being her mouse. These mice are extremely dangerous as they are able to cause a disease that creates black spots all over the body, and they are known as the ruler of the plague. Once this disease is contracted, it is practically uncurable, and only one type of magic can cure it, and most characters in the series do not know it. With her tiger, she is capable of controlling both lightning and thunder. Her rabbit allows her to manipulate gravity. Her snake allows her to manipulate the air to a point in which she could remove oxygen from it and kill you. Her sheep can put you to sleep and control you. Her ape summon lets her manipulate both wind and sound, and can create a barrier that can deflect magic attacks. Her bird summon allows her to use fire, and her hound ability allows her to reflect all techniques and attack back to their original sender. She has a large variety of tools at her disposal. She could use all of these individually and let them fight as their own, but she also has the ability to combine with all of these creatures at once, and can use all of these abilities in unison. Due to her nullifications and the large amount of tools at her disposal, I'd say she is more consistent than both Geld and Gabiru. When she does combine with her other guardians, her EP does boost. It is said that each of her summons have 200,000 EP, so we would add the EP of her 8 summons to her current EP, and we'd get 3,499,944 as her EP in total. Her strengths and hacks are in a different league, but due to her lacking experience, she would lose to Soe. But she could also stand a chance against Adelman or Gabil, and this would only be due to experience. What makes the writing with these powers good when it comes to the Guardians, or at least the lower tier ones, if a character is lacking in hacks or special abilities, they would most likely make up for that with their skills. That's why it is still possible to have conversations on whether or not Kumara could beat Gabil and or Geld. But overall, I'd say she's simply much stronger than both of them. Now up next we have Ranga, Rimuru pet wolf and the Wolven King. He is also a wolf god that is immortal, that possesses a material body that will never age. His existence points, or EP, would sit at a healthy 4,340,084. He would have the title of being a Star Lord, given he would be the leader of the Star Wolves and don a Joestar-esque birthmark on his head. It's pretty fitting. Ranga would constantly live inside of Rimuru's shadow. Literally, he'd live in his shadow and watch him, protecting him, and would jump out in the face of any adversities that would threaten his master. And because of this, he would actually absorb magicals from his master, and this would give him a significant boost in power in his evolution. Rimuru would even compare him to a swordless Benimaru, an extremely skilled sword master and one of the strongest guardians that is actually on this list as well. Now at this very moment, I'd like to say that a lot of these guardians share the same abilities. At this very moment, I'm going to explain what every ability is, and I'm not going to re-explain them for future guardians when it comes to the abilities that they all share, because you heard it once, I know you don't want to hear it 20 times. So pay attention here. So Ranga has Demon Lord's Haki. This would be an ability exclusive to Demon Lords. That would mean that you are so strong that your energy, aura, and or presence would have the potential to actually damage your opponents and kill them, or even make you lose your sanity. If Ranga were to go into a room with a bunch of others that were weaker than him, he would kill them, drive them insane, or even weaken them and scare them away. His presence by itself can kill. That is Demon Lord's Haki. Up next, Ranga would have a multi-layered barrier, and this would be no different than a coating of aura around your body, an invisible barrier that has multiple different defenses, and that would give it the name of a multi-layer barrier. All those different layers are different resistances to different kinds of attacks. It's almost like a second skin around your body, but it's made out of magic. And if you were to get past this barrier and or break it, you could just recreate it in an instant. It takes little to no mana to even exist. Up next, we have Spatial Domination. This would be the ability to have complete control over a space that you're occupied in. This means in a given space, you are able to teleport anywhere you want, and you could also block other people's teleportation or spatial manipulation in any area you might be dominating. Up next, we have Thought Acceleration, which basically makes you think faster and allows you to prepare and think through any moves your opponent might make against you. A genius plan that would take hours to think would literally be at your fingertips in a second. Up next, we have Universal Sense, which allows you to perceive all things within a radius. You'd be able to perceive lights, sounds, smells, and heat all around you. Your senses are heightened to a completely different degree. Up next, he has complete mastery of sound and wind through sound and wind domination, and he also has weather domination. Ranga's bread and butter is using weather, keep in mind. Another ability would be Ultra Instinct. He basically can sense danger. If something is about to attack him, he can sense the killing intent inside of that attack and dodge it. He can also assimilate and fuse with other characters. For example, Ranga typically fused with Gobta, which would allow Ranga to turn into a humanoid werewolf. He also has the ability to summon his tribe of wolves and regenerate. It gets even crazier because Ranga can also make clones of himself. There's more, but I'm only going to be talking about the noteworthy ones in this video. As far as defensive capabilities and tolerances, I'd like to state one thing. Resistances and nullifications are two different things. Resistance means that you can slightly fight against it. You are resistant to it. But nullification means that no amount of this said attack will ever work because you'll nullify it and cancel it out. Ranga has abnormal condition nullification, holy/demonic attack resistance, natural effects nullification, physical attack nullification, and spiritual attack nullification. Nullification means that physical attacks will never hurt him. Anything that I just said with nullification in front of it will never hurt him. Most of the other Guardians will just nullify anything that Ranga brings to the table, mainly his natural effects, because his bread and butters are based off of the weather. I know he has a EV of 4 million, and he was compared to one of the strongest characters being Benimaru, but he was compared to Benimaru without a sword. So is Benimaru with a sword stronger than Soe? Depending on the answer could change his placement based on what you believe in. Above Ranga, I decided to put Adelman. Adelman has an EP of 877,333. Alongside him, he has his two companions, Alberto and Venti. Alberto, the undead paladin, and Venti, his humanoid pet dragon. So if you're fighting Adelman, it's going to be a 3-on-1. And in this 3v1, the first person we're going to go over is Adelman, of course. Now, just like Ranga, Adelman would possess Thought Acceleration, Universal Sense, Demon Lord Haki, a multi-layer barrier, and even more. Adelman has the ability All Creation. If he has the basic understanding of something, he'll have a full understanding and comprehension of it. He also has Chant Annulment, which allows him to have the ability to use magic without chanting. This would mean he could simply think of a spell and use it in an instant. He would also have Analytical Appraisal, which allows him to scan his opponents, see how many magicules they possess, and whatever magics they might be using. They would even be able to see what skills their opponent has so they could develop a plan to counter them. And up next, we would have probably Adelman's most broken ability, Mental Crush, where you can attack a target spiritual or astral body directly and kill them instantly. And then we have Holy Demonic Reversal, which allows you to swap between holy and demonic alignments. So if he were to be weak against one or the other, he could simply swap, and then his holy or demonic resistances would make up for it. And then he has Domination of the Dead, which allows the user to conjure an undead army that can perfectly follow his thoughts and move in sync with him so he could easily trap his opponents. Personally, I feel like I don't really have to cover his magics, but some noteworthy ones would be Disintegration, where you basically, as the name incites, decay a target's spirit, and it erases things at the speed of light. And this would be the most powerful offensive holy magic. Again, he can do an attack like this just by thinking and with no chance. And then he still has his Paladin and Pet Dragon. As for his defenses, melee attacks do not work on him. He completely nullifies them. He has spiritual attack nullification. He has ailment nullification, natural elements nullification, and resistance to chaos attacks. The only thing that could potentially kill him would be chaos attacks. In comparison to Ranga, Ranga is resistant to spiritual attacks and chaos attacks as well, but he does not fully nullify them so they could damage him. Adelman, as you can see, can destroy your spirit in more ways than one, and I have yet to go over his two undead companions. So Albert's EP would be at 1,282,639. Originally, his EP would be around half of that, but his Spirit Sword boosts him up to 1 million. He has melee attack nullification, spirit attack nullification, ailment nullification, natural element nullification, and he has resistance to chaos. Complete with abilities like thought acceleration, complete regeneration, and subordination immortality. He is literally an unstoppable force. He is a master swordsman that is stronger than Hakuro, and he does not have a physical form. He possesses a magical body. So he would be intangible and immune to all physical attacks. You literally cannot hit him. And then his cursed sword sucks the life out of everything around it, alongside his god grade spirit sword. So yeah, if Albert is coming at you, good luck fighting him. The only thing that can damage him is a chaos attack. And alongside Adelman and Albert, we have Adelman's pet dragon Venti, that eventually acquired a human form with an EP of 984,142. She is basically an exact copy of Albert in terms of skills and abilities. So to sum up why Adelman would be stronger than Ranga, despite having a significantly higher EP, he'd have no way to actually fight Adelman. Adelman and his subordinates are all able to cancel out natural elements because of their nullification. Then on top of that, they would just simply overwhelm Ranga. Adelman shooting light speed spells, Venti and Albert jumping you, and then his undead army. Good luck fighting him. And above Adelman, we have Benimaru. To start things off, Benimaru has Demon Lord's Haki, light and heat domination, which gives him full control over temperatures and light itself. Using light to make himself travel at insane speeds and using temperatures from his heat to incinerate his opponents. Then you add on the fact that he has thought acceleration, universal perception, and will control, an ability that allows him to control the wills of others, spatial domination and multi-layer barrier, and that's not including his ability Heat Haze, when his body turns into literal haze and nothing can attack him. Neither physical attacks or magical. They completely go through him. And on top of this, he has a god grade sword known as Gurren with an EP of over 1 million that can cut through all substances. And on top of this, he has abnormal condition nullification, holy and demonic attack resistances, natural effects nullification, pain nullification, physical attack nullification, and spiritual attack resistance, as well as danger sense, where he can sense killing intent in the air, react to it, and dodge an attack. Not only is he unhittable because he can turn into haze, just in case if you get past that, he has plenty of nullifications, a sword that can cut through anything, insane combat ability, complete control over heat, light, and space. I don't see anybody fighting him. With a staggering EP of 4,397,788 plus the EP of his sword, which would be 1.14 million. Up next, we have Xion. She has an EP of 4,229,104 plus her sword having an EP of 1,080,000 on top of that. Now, the first thing that I'd like to say is that she has infinite regeneration, and that includes her physical and spiritual form. If you were to do an attack physically or spiritually, they would not work on her. Now, her most broken ability is the fact that she has a special art where every single one of her attacks can change the outcome of whatever's taking place in reality. She can take your current reality and change it to a reality that she would see is more fit. She can make things that happen simply not happen, and things that she wants to happen come true and happen. And if that's not enough, her attacks can destroy your spiritual body. With certain outcomes, she manipulates the laws of the universe, can change the outcome of attacks and the effect of them. With action acceleration, this would allow her to find the best strategy or solution to any conflict she may face. It's almost like already knowing how to win. And then her ability Fantasy Destruction would make her immune to any and all forms of mental attacks and illusions. On top of this, she would also have Universal Sense Thought Acceleration. With her ability Guaranteed Outcome, she can produce results that she wants. I just can't help but feel like these abilities are just absolutely ridiculous. I don't know how Benimaru would be able to fight her. I know you guys love Benimaru, but on top of all this, she has Physical Attack Nullification, Ailment Nullification, Spiritual Attack Nullification, Natural Attack Nullification, and Resistance to Chaos. You cannot hit her. Even if you did, her regeneration is so disgusting. She's practically unkillable. And then on top of that, you have abilities that alter the fate and outcome of the battle. You just don't win. You can be mad about the placement because you like Benimaru and you think he's a cool character, but I just don't see how he's going to be able to beat her. Up next, sharing the 3, 4, and 5 spots, I have 3 of the Primordial Daemons. So there's a power balance between the 3 of them. So I'm going to save my personal opinions on which I think is stronger between the 3 for another video. So out of the 3 Demonesses, rank them however you want. So the first one I would like to talk about is Ulti, with an EP of 2,668,816. The best thing to say about her is the fact that she simply counters and kills. And the process is this simple. With the ability Weakness Identification, she can simply observe a target and create a poison specifically to kill them. If she looks at you, she knows what poison to make and specifically tailor it just for you to achieve a surefire win. After she's analyzed how to counter you with Weakness Identification, and then get this, with her ability Crack Poison, she can make any kind of poison she wants. And I do mean any. And her next ability, World of Annihilation, was so dangerous that Rimuru himself had to ban her from using it. She can simply insta-kill anyone and anything unless they are a spiritual life form. How this ability works is that you're basically creating your own domain or world where you govern your own laws and conditions to attack your opponent with. And the moment you enter Ultimas, you just die. And this is not including the fact that she has abilities like Material Creation, Possession, and Nuclear Magic. Nuclear Fire, Nuclear Cannon, and then Death Streak. An attack that creates a dark light that can bypass physical objects and magic ones as well. It rewrites the genes of any living being and causes them to die. Even the soul or spiritual body of the target dies as well. You'd only be able to survive this as a spiritual life form if you can regenerate your spiritual body. Ulti would also have full nullification for physical attacks, natural effects, abnormal conditions, spiritual attacks, and resistance against holy and demonic attacks. She would also have access to Thought Acceleration, Universal Sense, Demon Lord's Haki, Space-Time Manipulation, Multi-Dimensional Barrier, etc. Up next, we have Testarossa. And man, oh my god, yo. She has an EP of 3,333,124. And she has the ability to dominate life. Life domination is her ability. She can control when and where a target will die. She governs life and death itself, and I don't think there's any real counter to this. She would also have access to nuclear magic like Dark Streak, just like Ulti, she would have an ability Death Blade, which would be a sword made out of condensed black flames that grants a target instant death upon making contact with it. She also has the ability Life After Death, where she can trap a target's soul in a separate dimension and torture them. And then above this, she would have superior nuclear magic with the ability White Flare. Once a target is selected, nobody can escape. She creates a flame that can consume all life and reap it, and send their targets to the afterlife, or the same dimension I mentioned earlier. And on top of this, you would have Thought Acceleration, Universal Sense, Demon Lord's Haki, Space-Time Manipulation, Multi-Dimensional Barrier, all of creation. If you understand something a little bit or observe it, you understand it entirely. That is all creation. She would also have nullification for abnormal condition, natural effects, physical attacks, spiritual attacks, and she'd simply be resistant to holy and demonic attacks. Up next, we have Carrera with an EP that's over 10 million. And if we're talking about nuclear magic, she has the most powerful nuclear magic spell, Abyssal Annihilation. This would be an attack that takes minus energy from the bottom of hell and uses gravity to collapse it. And this attack is so strong it can tear down dimensions and destroy the entire planet. On top of this, she'd also have the ability Limit Break, which allows her to push past her own weaknesses or limitations in battle. And above that, she has the ability Dimensional Rupture, which allows her to bypass any spatial abilities. And on top of this, she can use 100 Petal Rush just like Benimaru. And that would be the move when she controls fire and light to move at insane speeds. She would also have access to a god level weapon that could add status effects to bullets. And this same gun would have 4 effects and 4 different types of bullets. The removal bullet breaks down its target's defensive barriers, meaning any form of resistance or nullification is gone. The dispel bullet could dispel and remove magical effects. The necrosis bullet destroys magical based healing. Basically, you cannot regenerate while getting hit by it. And the eraser bullet targets the enemy's essence and consumes it from the inside. Basically, it can kill anything. So you can remove barriers, destroy regeneration, and cut magic off, and erase your opponents. And then the 5th and most powerful bullet, the Judgment Bullet, combines all of these into one. Then on top of this, she has full nullification for physical attacks, ailments, spiritual attacks, and natural attacks, and resistance to holy and demonic attacks. She would also have Thought Acceleration, Universal Sense, Demon Lord's Haki, Space-Time Manipulation, and Multi-Dimensional Barrier. Now earlier I said I wasn't going to rank the Demonesses because that's a very debatable topic, but if I had to go off the top of my head, I'd probably say Ulti's the weakest, second would be Testarossa, and the strongest Carrera. Up next we have Zegion, and I'm just going to go over his abilities first. Thought Acceleration, Universal Sense, Demon Lord Haki, full water and thunder domination, meaning he has complete mastery when it comes to manipulating those two elements. Space-time domination, multi-dimensional barrier, all of creation, spiritual domination, which means he would have complete control over the thoughts and emotions of his opponents, basically dominating your spirit. Then he'd have an ability known as Fantasy World, where he'll create his own world of illusion where he can make anything and all things happen that suits towards his own will. Zegion's abilities are based on the mind, illusions, and his thoughts. This gets even crazier when you take into account that he has life domination, where he'll mark a target, and if there's any sense of malice towards Zegion or his friends, you will automatically die. If you think of hurting Zegion or think of anything bad about him, you will die because of it, and that would be due to his skill Dream End. On top of this, he would have a broken ability like Dimension Storm, when he'll engulf you in a rainbow colored dimensional storm that will erase you. and instantly kill you. Zegion's EP would be 4,988,856. Pretty low, but if you think of killing the guy, he basically kills you. So I don't know how you could get even more broken than that. That's not including the spatial manipulation that he has. And on top of this, with his ability, Devastator Virus, he can manipulate dark cells. With this ability, you can eat your target and their abilities will now become your very own. And this can break through barriers, so you can practically do nothing against it. And this is not including Void Punch, where Zegion will use time and space manipulation to put his energy into his opponent's body to a point in which if you were to graze them, it could kill them. And it would destroy your opponent from the inside out. Now up next for the strongest Guardian, we have Diablo with an EP of 6,666,666. Now that is a creepy number. As for Diablo's abilities, he would have All of Creation, Demon Lord's Hockey, Multi-Dimensional Barrier, Space-Time Domination, Thought Acceleration, and Universal Sense. Like Adelman, he would be able to use Chat Annulment, which would allow him to use magic without chanting. He would also have Law Manipulation, which would allow him to change the laws of the world and how things operate within that same world. On top of that, he would also have access to Charm Domination, which takes away any and all free will from its targets and automatically makes them one of his servants. And through this, he would then own your soul and destroy it if he wanted to. And on top of this, he would have the ability World of Temptation, where he would rewrite and alter reality. Similar to Zegion, he would create a world of illusion, an altered reality. He can also control the life and death of anything within that world, even if it's not real. And with Reality Exchange, he can change things that can occur within that world in the real world. Anything that he creates, such as monsters or creatures, could also exist in the real world with this ability. And on top of this, he has an ability known as End of the World, where he can deny your existence. He basically destroys the illusionary world that he created and everything inside of it. And remember how I said it affects the real world as well because of Reality Exchange? Anything he destroys within it, despite it being an illusion, will actually happen. And on top of this, he would have Abnormal Condition Nullification, Holy and Demonic Attack Resistance, Natural Effect Nullification, Pain Nullification, Physical Attack Nullification, and Spiritual Attack Nullification. And he would be able to use Nuclear Magic as well. On top of this, he would have access to the strongest Holy Magic in terms of offensive ability. And this attack can decay you on a spiritual level. He has more moves that I could talk about, but I feel like the ones that I just named proves more than enough that he is the strongest out of Rimuru's Guardians and subordinates. Now with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check out other videos on the content, and let me know if you'd like to see more Tensura or Slime Isekai content on the channel. If you'd like to support us monetarily, please consider donating to the Patreon. With that, y'all have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next one.